must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Ambazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There is nothing to endear to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya that has escalated in the Sahara region of Africa, is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in Ambazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you. Punchline Africa TV opposes any form of terrorism, and our policy is very clear. We condemn Al-Shabaab, we condemn Boko Haram, we condemn Al-Qaeda, we condemn any remnants of Al-Qaeda cells that linger on this African continent, that maim people, innocent people. All these acts are not done by a particular religion. People have just picked a religion and used it. In Kenya, in East Africa, and in Africa, we should be vigilant. That is, now we don't know. You can be very, well equipped at your doorstep or at your gate, but you don't know up in the crowd when we are moving in town, in cities, in Dar es Salaam, in Mwanza, in Kampala, in Tigary, in Johannesburg. These people have come closer to our cities, in Nairobi. You might be moving and somebody just starts stabbing you. I think they have changed these tactics. So we must be vigilant ourselves as citizens of these countries in Africa. Together we shall one day wipe out all forms of terrorism that have actually widened the gaps or the gulf between the people, the religions, and the type of hatred that is coming out is not very, very good. I want to call upon the people of Ambazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora, in Ambazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Ambazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Ambazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Ambazonia, because I am not from Ambazonia, but I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Ambazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Ambazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. Is ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Ambazonia, the leadership of Ambazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Miran, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the Resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Ambazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us. This is Africa Showdown, where we get to look at the events or news headlines or stories that are trending across the continent. And of course, over this the last week, a lot of things has been happening in Uganda in preparation as the country readies itself for its general election there in January. And we've seen also what has been happening in Ethiopia, the conflict that has been going on there between the Tigray people and the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. I think should be a concern to the rest of the region, because when one country is destabilized, then it should be a concern to all of us. And what I found to be really interesting in Ethiopia there is the Prime Minister refusing to receive the help the African Union wanted to give in terms of mediation. So what could be the reason of that? So we shall be looking at those two stories and others from Ambazonia as well as Biafra, and see what's up and what is the latest in those two regions also across Western Africa that also have been marred with a lot of conflict. So we shall bring ourselves up to date with what is really happening there. But before we get to that, we shall start with of course, Kenyan stories. And on Kenyan stories, we've been talking about BBI. We shall continue to talk about BBI because it's one of the most important conversations right now among Kenyans. It's a national conversation that seeks to amend or change some parts of the constitution that require a referendum. So that's why we have to keep talking about it, because it's important down here. And so we shall start with the BBI contested versus consensus referendum, and why Kenya needs a unity of purpose. Very important. So to help me out in this conversation, by the way, in case you don't know, my name is Miriam Ogutu, and I'm joined by Daniel Wesonga from Nairobi. Daniel, good afternoon.
Yes, a very, very good afternoon, Miriam Ogutu, at our headquarters in Nairobi, and our viewers in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world.
All right, very well. And also we are joined by Douglas Kirimi from Meru. Douglas, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miriam. Good afternoon from Meru.
Okay, and we're also joined by Jevan Karanja, all the way from Nanyuki. Jevan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miriam. Good afternoon to the fellow panelists, and good afternoon to our viewers wherever they are catching this broadcast from.
I really love your very eye-catchy background there, Jevan. Thank you so much. And of course, we shall be looking at a lot of these things. Let's just start with the topics we have today: a contested versus a consensus referendum. What do you think will be the pro and cons of having a contested referendum versus having a non-contested referendum? There, we start with you, Jevan.
And Miriam, one thing that we must agree is that as we stand now, we have been having this conversation for quite a period of time. And this BBI was something that was launched 2 years ago. Therefore, we have seen and we have read the document. Therefore, we understand the benefits of this BBI. And the Kenyans, we invite them to continue reading the document. And where maybe they are not understanding, they can ask maybe those people who are understanding better. But Miriam, as we are going forward, a contested referendum is a good thing, because one benefit is that it will give Kenyans and other people who feel like this document is not good for this country a chance to go and oppose. And those who feel like this document is good, they will have the say when they go and vote yes. Therefore, this thing will give Kenyans a chance, and that is what the democracy dictates, that people to be given a chance to decide what they want. On the other side, Miriam, one thing that this kind of elections and the referendum bring to the people is that they divide them. And Miriam, I remember when the president was calling for the consensus not rather than the deputy president and the former vice president Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi. These are the people who are, and they are looking for this consensus, because at the end of the day, Miriam, when we go for this contested referendum, Kenyans will divide because it will be a contest. And Miriam, we understand in a political contest, people must be divided according to where maybe their political alignment is and where they feel like they trust the people or where they feel like their issues are addressed. Therefore, one setback of a contested referendum is the divisions. But Miriam, at the end of the day, people of this country must be given an opportunity to make their own decision at the end of the day, because we cannot allow our leaders to continue dictating things to us. That is why we have this referendum, so that Kenyans will decide. Therefore, for me, anyway where we go, at the end of the day, whether it is a contested or uncontested referendum, the people of Kenya must be given a chance. As they were given a chance to present their proposals, they must also be given a chance to vote for the document, because at the end of the day, it will benefit the people of Kenya. And from Miriam, where it is now, Miriam, it is like we are going for a contested referendum, because the church, the civil societies, and the people who support the deputy president, they are quite unsatisfied with the document. Therefore, Miriam, we are looking forward for a contested referendum, and that is good for this country, because at the end of the day, we will decide, and that is what we want. And we want to make this country better, as the BBI proposes.
But there also that meeting that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy had. Was it on Wednesday there last week that perhaps shelved the move by the BBI team to launch the signature collecting on Thursday there? So it is said that meeting that happened between President and his deputy must have changed a few things. But we've seen the leaders of the BBI team, the Secretariat, coming out and saying nothing has changed. The plans are still ongoing. A few things are still being, they're still working on a few things, and then they will start the process of collecting signatures there. And Kenyans, a part of Kenyans are confused as to really what is happening there. But Daniel, a contested versus an uncontested referendum, how do Kenyans stand to win or to lose in any of that?
Yes, Miriam, of course, a contested referendum over an uncontested referendum, Kenyans will go anytime for an uncontested referendum where they have consensus and people are able to come on the table and be able to surge a very common cause. But as you see right now, Miriam, BBI is a political process. And as it is even at the moment, is that the politics of the day has really hijacked the conversation. And when you look at the prospects of having an uncontested referendum over a contested referendum, then they really look quite bleak. And therefore, it would have been in the best interest of the citizens of this country, so that we save ourselves time, we save ourselves resources, and we prevent any incidents that will lead to any political showdown, so that we go for an uncontested referendum. However, the proponents who are looking for consensus and an uncontested referendum do not have the political goodwill to support the document. Neither do they have ever supported the document from the inception. Remember, Miriam, these are the same people who have been campaigning during the launch of the BBI. Immediately after the launch of the BBI report, the deputy president was in Meru, was in Central Province, calling the former Central Province, calling for the electorate to shoot down the BBI report. So therefore, Miriam, it would have been the best way going forward to have an uncontested referendum. However, as it is right now, we do not have the political goodwill, both from the people who are supporting the deputy president, the civil society, and the church. So we can never have a discussion of an uncontested referendum because we shall be lying to ourselves. At the end of the day, we shall be bogged down in this push and pull for those of us who want changes here and there. And that time is running, therefore we shall have a time constraint. So to me, I think, as Javan Karaja said, we would have so much wished to have an uncontested referendum, but as it is right now, the only route remaining is a contested referendum, and surely Kenyans will go to the ballot. They'll be able again to make their voices heard, just like they did during the time of collecting the views for the task force.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Douglas Kirimi. What's your take? Because we've seen a lot of calls for consensus, especially for those who have been opposing the BBI process, and the other side that has been supporting the BBI process from the onset there. They want a contested referendum, but the other side want a consensus. What do you think will be best for this country moving forward that will also ensure a united Kenya?
You see, Miriam, Kenya is one of the most democratic countries we have around in Africa. And one thing that we are blessed to have is to have a very progressive constitution. And the same people that are calling for consensus today, they were calling for consensus in 2010. A video emerged of Deputy President William Ruto in 2010 saying, you need to vote no so that President Uhuru Kenyatta and President Kibaki and the Prime Minister by then, Raila Amolo Odinga, to come on board and listen to what Kenyans are saying. He had issues with the 2010 Constitution, and they were in need of a consensus at that time. So they were calling for a consensus in 2010. 10 years later, they are still calling for a consensus. It is something that we need to examine as Kenyans, because Kenya is in shortage of foods. When you don't support...
Okay, very well. We seem to have had a problem there with Douglas Kirimi's signal there, but once Douglas you're able to fix that, then you can come back to us. A bit of some technical issues there, technology sometimes, what can we do? But he shall be joining us.
Are they calling for a consensus on something that they don't support? So they don't support the BBI process, and we don't believe that they are going to continue supporting the BBI process by any means. So Miriam, on my take is that we need to go for a referendum. We need to be able to go and have the voices of Kenyans who support BBI and those that support BBI, so that we can be able to have a conversation at the ballot. And we need to have people that are saying yes. And it is not necessarily the Deputy President side, Miriam. We have had our friends in the civil society who are opposing it and sponsoring press conferences and all that, and involve them or involve their views and everything. We need a no and a come. Even if the Deputy President comes today and he becomes the grand principal for the BBI process, we need to be able to have to give Kenyans a chance to oppose this thing and to support it. Like me, I will vote yes, and someone else will vote no. So for Kenya to move forward and for a united Kenya, we need to give everyone a chance. It is not all about the Deputy President, Miriam. Okay. It is about the will of 47 years. And if one person decides to move from the no camp and come to the yes, who are we to refuse? For a more cohesive and a united Kenya, the Deputy President can come, and after he has come, then others who are opposing BPI can go for a no and a yes referendum. The ayes will have it.
All right. Thank you so much there, Douglas Kirimi. And now, Daniel, there has been, for those who are calling for consensus right now, they're saying one of the key concerns they have is that if you go to a contested referendum, Kenya will be more polarized than it is right now. Do they have a reason for concern there? Do their reasoning hold some water there for you?
Miriam, they say that let those who call for justice do it with a clean pair of hands. And, it could be a good cause, and every Kenyan of goodwill would really advocate for people who are united, people who are not divided along political, ethnic, or religious inclinations. But as it is, Miriam, these are the same people who have been moving around the country, spreading messages of divisions, malice, and really profiling other ethnicity. And therefore, for them now to call this particular process as one that will really be able to incite Kenyans against one another and polarize the country, then that tells you that they lack some kind of political genuinity. There are people who are only concerned about their own self-interest and their agenda. And we know it has much to do with the 2022 politics. in as much as we are talking about the BBI process, a people-driven process which aims at uniting Kenyans from all the political divide, making sure that Kenyans receive fast, efficient, and deserving services from the government, which ensures that Kenya's economy grows and we are able to secure our future in the coming days. These people have been otherwise talking about the 2022 succession politics, and they have seen any idea concerning the BBI, the Big Four agenda, as something which is made with the intention of perhaps undermining the political ambition of the deputy president. So therefore, you cannot really be true to yourself when you call the BBI process as a process that is going to polarize the country. You know, at the end of the day, Miriam, we have to make a decision. Kenyans have to decide whether they want these documents or not. And that is why earlier on I said that those ones who are saying that perhaps we should have an uncontested referendum and we should also have some consensus. Douglas has just said in 2010, the deputy president, we have a clip on record saying that for President Kibaki and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to listen to Kenyans, the Kenyans have to vote for no. So, you know, if you want a consensus, but in the same line, you still have a very predetermined mind that people should. You are someone who is so much determined to shoot down this particular document. So to me, I think they lack some kind of integrity. They lack some kind of genuineness. And these are people who are just their saboteurs. And at the end of the day, if we succumb to their pressure, if we succumb to their coercion, then the BBI report will be greatly hindered and it might not see the light of the day. So to me, I think, Miriam, a very, very viable conversation that we need to have. Let Kenyans decide whichever outcome that shall come out of that referendum. I rest my case. All right,
very well. So there's a story there on the Sunday Nation on page 21. Before we look at the main headline there on the Sunday Nation about this trip that DP Ruto made in Dubai, and it's quite interesting. We shall look at it. But on Sunday Review, on page 21 of the Sunday Nation, there the headline is Ruto dithers as church, politicians and civil society push him to lead the No campaign. For a man who has lately been itching for a political contest with the former Prime Minister, the impression that he is shying away from a political duel over BBI is baffling too many, but the DP is only being cautious and calculative because the time for a battle is not ripe just yet. So we know he's been opposing the BBI, but lately, he reverted to calls on consensus and all that. And what the Daily Nation now is explaining here, that DP is only being cautious and calculative because the time for battle is not yet ripe. Is it a strategy that, is it a very wise strategy that the DP here is using?
Thank you, Miriam. And the one thing that we must agree is that the deputy president is being calculative. Yes?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the deputy president is being calculative, and he wants to make sure that he don't want to come to expose his numbers, because Miriam, at this point, if you go on exposing the numbers that you have, you might be surprised if you fail to read a successful No campaign. I think that is what the No camp is fearing, because at the end of the day, they have been telling us that they have the numbers to match and to win such kind of a referendum. Therefore, Miriam, I think the deputy president, as the Daily Nation says, he is being calculative, because at the end of the day, Miriam, if you go for that election and you are in the capacity of the deputy president and you fail to lead a successful No campaign, then the people who support you, they'll be even the other people outside who support you, they'll be able to see that this is your weakness and this is your strong point, and that might be used in future as we go to the 2020 election to hit him head on. And I think that is why he does not want to go for a head-on campaign, because Miriam, as it stands now, the people who seem to be in the campaign and people who seem to be a very force in 2022 campaign is the deputy president and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And in any case that they go head-on with the Prime Minister, who is also a proponent of the BBI, then it will be quite ineffective for a deputy president to lose such kind of a a referendum. And therefore, I agree that he is being calculated because Miriam, as it stands now, Kenyans now are reading the document, unlike in 2010, where a majority of Kenyans voted without the knowledge of what the document contained. Therefore, at this moment, I agree that the deputy president is tactical and he's just waiting at the right time. Because Miriam, at this point, his aim is to go for the 2022 election without any loophole or gray areas that can be used by his opponents to create or to send him out.
All right, because should he lead the no campaign and then he loses, then he would have started on a very weak grounds there. So we're joined by Professor Onyari. Professor, very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Miriam, Chavan, Wesonga, Douglas Fundi. Did I see Musa? Where is it, Zabiat?
Yeah, he's had a bit of a problem, but he's joining us again. So once he's able to connect, we shall continue. Yes, but yeah, he's joining us very shortly. So, Professor, we've been looking at that story on page 21 of the Daily Nation. They're saying Ruto dithers as church, politicians and civil society push him to lead no campaign. And somewhere there it says on the third stanza, says, for a man who has lately been itching for a political contest with the former Prime Minister, the impression that he is shying away from a political duel over the BBI is baffling to many, but the DP is only being cautious and calculative because the time for battle is not ripe just yet. So what he's saying is, it's not because the DP is actually supporting, to say this BBI process, this is not what is most urgent to Kenyans. Kenyans have other important things that they would want to be addressed. So BBI is just something that Kenyans don't need right now. But now we've seen those calls changing to, okay, so now can we have everybody included? So according to this story on the Sunday Nation, it says he's just being very cautious and calculative because the time for battle is not ripe just yet. Is that a winning strategy for a deputy president?
William, I have never seen a honest person, a truthful person like the deputy president. He is honest in the sense that he is an hustler. And an hustler, you know, is being tricky. He's a trickster. He's living to what he says he is. Miriam, don't think the deputy president is a fool. He knows the consequences. The moment he reads the no campaign and the president will be reading the yes campaign, the theory that is not supporting the president, Miriam, will be proved. For the remaining 1 or 2 years in office, there will be horrible period for him to be in office. So Miriam, to be very brave, is not being tactical. He knows the consequences. It can even lead to his impeachment if the yes side wins. You know, Miriam, what happens in 2005? When they led his troops to go and campaign for no, it led to the formation of the government of national unity. Because he basically said that Miriam is not with the president. When it will be seen that you are not with the president, Miriam, then you know that. So he's very, very cautious to ensure that he goes to the next generation being the deputy president in office.
All right.
You will not want to make that stupid blunder.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, the professor. And we are joined by Musa, finally. Musa, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you as well. It's been a long time. Welcome to the show. And so we've been looking at the story on the Sunday Nation on page 21 here, and they're trying to understand why DP Ruto is not very keen to go and lead a no campaign. And here they're explaining that the DP is only being cautious and calculative because the time for battle is not ripe just yet. And just down here they're saying DP William Ruto, buoyed by his spirited efforts to poke holes in the BBI report, was said to be determined to go the whole hog and oppose the document. Machakos Senator Johnson Muthama had donated one of his properties in the upmarket Tunda neighborhood in Nairobi to host the No Secretariat. The battle lines appear to have been drawn after Uhuru and Raila invited their allies for a retreat in Naivasha to discuss the roadmap for implementation of the BBI document and left lawmakers allied to DP Ruto. But we've seen DP Ruto since intensify his calls for a consensus, and he's not very keen on a contested referendum because he's been saying that will polarize Kenya even more. Is he right in that regard? And also, what the Daily Nation here is saying, that he's just being cautious and calculative. Do you think this is a strategy that might, DP might win at the end?
Thank you so much for giving me this time. I think I will try to approach this notion from the geopolitical point of view. Miriam, what's happening in East Africa is unprecedented. Ethiopia has gone to war with its own people. Somalia is trying to recover from instability. Tanzania is trying to, grapple with the aftermath of the election, Tundu Lissu fleeing for Belgium. Last week we saw the blood shed in Uganda. So whatever is happening here, and never forgetting the Nile Dam, the Ethiopian-Egypt Nile Dam issue, these has really prompted the United States of America to issue an advisory, a communique to East African, which I think even Professor Jared has read it, which read that polarization in East Africa, especially in the Horn of Africa, is something which should be considered. It's something which, the political precedences is going to be fragile. So this is something which is beyond Uhuru Kenyatta, is beyond William Ruto. William Ruto, actually, to my opinion, he has been, forced to rethink, not in 2022, but to rethink Kenya as the only nation which is sharpening to get into polarization if something is not going to be done. And the world of Donald Trump has been, I don't care. Britain is grappling with Brexit. America is grappling with, racial division. So even the global hegemonic countries don't care what's happening in Africa. We are only seeing AU being concerned with what's happening in this region. And Professor Jared, you've seen the National Intelligence Report, which showed that only 19% of Kenyans are in favor of BBI. And that will give you a good picture that once it is going to be no or yes. Look at the Kenya's fragility index. We are only 23 position better than Yemen. And I'm trying to rethink from security point of view. If Kenya is going to be in polarization, Al-Shabaab are waiting for us. These are the guys at the border who are just waiting, to car any harm. Kenya was, as a result of many pieces jolted together during independence. MRC with its own agenda of secession is there. The Northern Frontier District, you remember the secession war of 1963, it's coming back. After the revenue sharing formula, people are starting to rethink if indeed this BBI has nothing to do with increasing constituencies in this region, then what is our intake? So I will try to tackle from that point of view, from geopolitical point of view. Kenya is the only David now, the only safe David in Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is not safe. South Sudan, the problem. Museveni and Bobby Wine, Tanzania is living in denial. Somalia, the story. Secondly, Miriam, I will try to rethink this strategy by William Ruto to be more of, let me say, not capitulation, but hibernation. Hibernation in the sense that Ruto knows very well the probability of him getting to the presidency is going to depend with the datings and the scheduling of the BBI referendum. One thing in clear, if the BBI referendum is going to be done in 2021, the result of BBI referendum in 2021 shall have an equivocal consequences of the 2022 election. That That is something which is in direct observation. And William Ruto knows one thing. William Ruto told the Tanga MPs to cool down. He told them to cool down not because something bad is happening. Professor Jared, if today the school principal has differed with the deputy school principal, then before issue is taken to TSC, the person to solve the problem first of all will be BOM, the Board of Management, right? So one thing Ruto has seen is that for him, non-contested and contested referendum is better for him. Because if it is going to be contested, William Ruto knows one thing very well. Uhuru Kenyatta will trigger the sovereignty agenda of the imminent domain, saying, triggering this, agenda of securing the country, not because of William Ruto, but because of the better investments foreign countries have made in this nation. William Ruto is someone by the nature whom I can call, Napoleon. He thrives in violence. William thrives in, intimidation. William Ruto thrives in, in the source of, Messiah complex. When Adolf Hitler was told that he can become the savior for Germany, Adolf Hitler started to feel, I can lead Germany. It can last for 1,000 years. The chancellery, the Rhineland, the Führer will last for 1,000 years. So William Ruto knows very well. William Ruto cannot survive in intellectual politics. William Ruto cannot survive in the politics of compromise. William Ruto cannot survive in the politics of reconciliation. So the only possible way William Ruto can survive is through the use of violence. So when you think William Ruto is mentioning COVID-19, if indeed he has messed, William Ruto should not start saying hustler nation. Even Wesonga knows I used to be an Advent fan of Dr. Ikuru, liberal candidates, because what we saw in William Ruto is a leader who has only given work. Imagine 2017, after the repeated presidential election, things went bad. 2018, Uhuru Kenyatta started working. Now, 2 years before the election, William Ruto, if indeed he could have been sincere with his presidential candidate, he could have given Uhuru Kenyatta more time to work. After all, Raila Odinga is a student. Raila Odinga is a teacher to William Ruto. Actually, if there are people in this Kenya who can listen to one another even more than William Ruto and Uhuru, is William Ruto and Raila Odinga. These were in the Pentagon in 2008. And what I'm seeing, William Ruto, apart from being sympathetic, no one has told him to be in opposition. William Ruto is pushing himself to be in opposition.
All right.
One thing which is clear, he is the front runner. Professor Jared, William Ruto is a front runner in the presidential election. We cannot dispute that. He's the front runner.
Okay.
Actually, Professor Mutai Nguni said, anyone who will be planning to vie against William Ruto and he or she has not declared their interest, then they are very late, because William Ruto is Machiavellian in nature. William believes it is better to be feared than to be loved. That is William Ruto. So I think it is not recapitulation. William Ruto is hibernating, He's hibernating under the blanket of COVID-19. And after COVID-19 has come, then I think you shall see the William Ruto of 1992, whereby intimidation and, regional politics shall be in play. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you so much there, Musa. Is it from Isiolo?
Yeah, from Isiolo.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Douglas, there's part of the story down there says, however, retired Presbyterian Church of East Africa Minister Dr. Reverend Timothy Njoya says politicians cannot be trusted to drive a people's cause like the BBI, and is quoted as saying neither Kenyatta nor Raila can lead the BBI process with a clean intention. Even for those opposed to the implementation of the BBI, Ruto is the wrong man to be the face of that opposition. Politicians are in it simply for the selfish interest in the Kenyatta's succession. Douglas, what do you make of those comments by Dr. Reverend Timothy Njoya?
What Dr. Reverend Joya is not telling Kenyans is that Kenya is a political state, is a political country. Kenya is not a religious country, and Kenya is formed on the premise of politics. And the way you can effect change, including these constitutional changes that we are about to implement using BBI process, you can only implement them using politics, including the bills that are being said we can evade the referendum and take them to parliament. What the Reverend is not saying is that we cannot put this process into the hands of the civil society or the church. We cannot do that because we know what they are doing, and we know in this country that the only way for you to push this amendment is using politics. We agree BBI process is not a political contest between any individual, but it's a national hearing project. And this project can only be pushed by politicians because Kenya is a political state. So the good Reverend Joya does not want to tell Kenyans the truth. And which truth is this? That we cannot give the church that was opposed to the 2010 constitution our own amendments to pass through. And how are they going to pass through? If these amendments are giving an individual like Kiremi today, how is Kiremi going to be trusted to pass them on behalf of Kenyans? If the church that was opposed to the 2010 constitution and they voted at that 3% together with William Ruto, how are they going to deliver these changes to us? So what I can make of those of that statement from the good Reverend Joya is that he is not telling Kenyans the truth, and these things can only be passed through the political process. Whereas BBI process is not a political contest, it is a national hearing process. But the only way to achieve maximum results is to put it on a political plane, because the church has failed terribly. In his days, he was better because he would challenge President Moi and other things. One thing that I saw even in newspapers the other day is that the church has taken sides. There's a function that is supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta, and there's another function that is supporting William Ruto, and there's another function that is also very neutral. And you have seen these politicians very vocal, going for handouts and arambis and all manner of things. And that is not the church that we would want it to be. The church is engrossed in politics. We cannot trust the church. And Kenya is not a religious state. Kenya is a very political state. The Professor Nyari can agree with me. So, Miriam, there is no any other way we can be able to pass these things and achieve peace that is very paramount. Mm-hmm. And let me say this, Miriam. Kenya, the only way to midwife this amendment and make sure they go through is through a referendum that is a contested referendum, but within the precinct or internal structures of our country, without necessarily funding tribal cards and all that. We can be able to agree to disagree on this referendum and see what is best for Kenya. Okay. Remember, Miriam, as Musa said, this country is the only reason why the region is not on fire, the whole of it. Kenya is not fighting today. We are enjoying peace. Remember, investors, when they look at Kenya, they look Kenya as a gateway to the region. Remember, when these people that are fighting, when they need a ceasefire, they are contacting Nairobi every day. President Moi was on it. President Kibaki was on it. President Uhuru Kenyatta is on it. Mm-hmm. And this is the only way we can be able to midwife this. Okay. So when we put this thing on religious matters and put individuals and everything that comes with it, we cannot be able to achieve these amendments that are very crucial to our well-being as a country. And also, another thing before I cross on this, our prosperity as a nation, or our growth, our progress as a nation means the region's progress and means the region's well-being. Because today, the other day we saw the Prime Minister for Ethiopia, the Deputy Prime Minister, doing shuttle diplomacy in Nairobi. He was talking to President Uhuru Kenyatta to solve the problem in the region, in their country. We have seen all people call on Nairobi. Nairobi is a trusted hub for that, and we cannot be able to put our nation's future, especially the future that is going to be birthed after this constitutional moment, on the sentiments that Dr. Joya has put across. Kenya is a political state, and we remain as such, Miriam.
All right. Very well. Thank you so much. So there's a story here on the front pages of the Sunday Nation. Just on the side there, Nigerian dissident in Ruto's Dubai trip. Let's just see what's happening there on page 10 of the Sunday Nation, and it says, Ministry of DP Ruto talks with Nigerian ex-vice president and dissident. Now, Deputy President William Ruto met with a controversial man on the run alongside former Nigerian Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who we know was the main opposition during the last Nigeria's election. There he used to be the vice president. And during his highly guarded trip to the Emirate of Dubai this week, pictures of the deputy president alongside Mr. Abubakar and a third person whom the Sunday Nation has identified as Timmy Frank surfaced on social media on Friday as rumors and conjecture dominated debate in Nairobi on a DP Ruto's mission. Mr. Frank, the third person in that meeting, in that photo, a high-flying but controversial political activist, is wanted in Nigeria on various accusations of character assassination. Nigeria's Federal Inland Revenue Service in 2019 announced that it was suing him over a series of fraud allegations he made against the agency, while the current Nigerian Vice President Yemi Osibanjo last year announced that he was suing Mr. Frank for defaming him by making corruption allegations against him. The Sunday Nation can also reveal Mr. Frank was in Nairobi in August this year for about 2 weeks, during which time he was put up at the Kempinski Hotel. At the time, it was not clear what his mission in the country was, even though he disclosed to a Sunday Nation reporter who talked to him at the hotel that he had met with DP Ruto and dropped other big names, including that of a senior lawyer and a flamboyant Nairobi MP. The Sunday Nation is not revealing the identities of the lawyer and the politicians for legal reasons now. In the 2 weeks he spent in Nairobi, his Kenyan handlers fixed interviews with at least 3 local television stations as he talked about his vision for Africa, and he praised John Magufuli of Tanzania and Paul Kagame of Rwanda, as well as Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and he called them visionary leaders. All right. So Mr. Frank is close associate of Mr. Atiku, a fabulously wealthy former Nigerian vice president who has also been described by his former boss, President Olusegun Obasanjo, as not trustworthy and other not very kind terms. So, DP Ruto left the country on Wednesday for Dubai hours after holding talks with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Sources said he used the meeting to seek clearance to travel. So this could be the reason why DP went to State House. You know, right now, top civil servants are not supposed to be traveling out of the country. That was that directive was given a couple of months ago after COVID-19. So if you want to travel, you have to seek clearance. So this could be one of the big reasons why DP went to see President Uhuru Kenyatta there on Wednesday to seek clearance to travel out of the country. In the past, his foreign travel requests have been frustrated by bureaucrats at State House. So now, following publication of the pictures on social media, majority of DP's staunch lieutenants said he was in Dubai for vacation. I don't know who would go for a vacation when we're in the middle of a pandemic and you're a vice president of a country. I don't understand. But that is what some of his supporters were saying. And since then, the DP's usual vocal allies have remained tight-lipped on the trip. However, Kimilili Member of Parliament, Didmas Baraza, said Ruto is in Dubai to look for friendship bridges for future endeavors. He is a hustler and meeting people who can aid him in hustle, said Mr. Baraza. His Dubai diary is full. Mr. Abubakar is a wealthy Nigerian with vast investment oil. So this is what a former former president said about his vice president then. What I did not know, which came out glaringly later, was his parental background, which was somewhat shadowy. His propensity to corruption, his tendency to disloyalty, his inability to say and stick to the truth. This was the former president, and he's testifying about his vice president Atiku. Does it draw parallels with what we're seeing in the country? So he said his propensity to corruption, his tendency to be disloyal, his inability to say and stick to the truth all the time, his propensity for poor judgment, his belief and reliance on marabouts, that is religious teachers, his lack of transparency, his trust in money to buy his way out on all issues, and his readiness to sacrifice the morality, integrity, propriety, truth, and national interest for self and selfish interest. That was the judgment made there by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, whose, Atiku was his vice president, and they fell out there. So what do you make of this trip by a DP to Dubai?
Yes, Miriam.
Yes.
First of all, I don't know what is the term, what does the term hustler mean in this context? Because I will say Dr. Ekuro Okot is a hustler. That is a guy who came from humble background. I will say other presidential candidates, who their wealth is not, overboard. Their wealth is something which we can say at least they earned from their, from their pockets. I don't understand when you are a youth leader for Kanu Wing in 1992, when you could be able to give 300,000 Kenya shillings in funding to youth organization. I don't know what you can call yourself a hustler on that. But one thing is clear, Miriam, here. One thing is clear. BBI is not going to solve three things in Kenya. BBI is not going to solve corruption. BBI is not going to solve Kenya's rotten foreign policy. BBI is not going to solve the leadership and morality in this country. We might say Uhuru Kenyatta has a good intention, fine. Raila Odinga has a good intention, well and fine. But the problem here is corruption is going to be on the rise, whether BBI is going to be passed or not. BBI, I think, if indeed, one of the problems, one of the things which now I can show my reservations about BBI, I will support the youth establishment of youth commission. I will support the national ethos issues, inclusivity. But one thing which I'm not ready to agree with is the political party. And I will here vividly agree with Douglas here. Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga might not have put that clause of presidential and the prime minister or deputy prime minister position. This was something which was lobbied by political class, because they believe that it is only through them that this referendum will pass. To my conclusion, Miriam, in Africa, Professor Lumumba said, you let a hyena to guard your goats, and when all the goats are eaten, you wonder why. The only problem we are seeing is that people are confessing after leaving power. That's as if Professor Onyari will be telling me maybe he has denied me marks and I have sat for an exam in the class, and later when I fail to graduate, he will tell me, oh, I forgot. And he knew very well that my marks were missing. So the problem here is, look at American politics. People knew Bill Clinton messed up in the Gulf War. People knew Bill Clinton moralities with the immorality issue with the secretary, which as a consequence could eat into his second term. In Kenya, we are seeing the baptism of these leaders in the name of confession after they have messed up. It comes. Samuel Kivuitu confessed after he left ECK, and he said, Mwai Kibaki and other people enabled me to do that and that. The elections were stolen. He died a very sad death. Come to other leaders in the region. I don't believe why William Ruto has to complain about BBI indeed, if he has an issues of common mwananchi at heart. And if indeed this could have been a genuine concern, even President Uhuru Kenyatta could have chartered this BBI course in his first term of the presidency. Even from President Uhuru, yes, he might be genuine and he might be maybe honest, but he miscalculated. Because he decided to draw the meat when the hyena is hungry. He could have thrown the meat when the hyena's stomach is full, maybe from 2013 to 2017, when, the Messiah complex of William Ruto was at the par. He was at his best. Kipchumba Murkomen, Susan Kihika, when he could have, organized for such initiative. I know it could have backfired, but he is the president. He could have done a lot of things. But now we are finding ourselves in a very confusing crossroad. I agree with Douglas. In Kenya, power comes before morality in Kenya. Power comes before morality. In Kenya, religion has nothing to do with deciding the consciousness of a nation. At least in Tanzania, I can see Pombe Magufuli is mentioning God wherever they God from Monday to Sunday. It's only the deputy president who mentions God on Sundays, and I don't know why. Why would we have to be divisive in these issues of morality? But if Kenya wants to avoid another polarization, because we are very fragile, the United States of America is really focusing on Kenya. The other day, we lost our foreign policy influence to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the hub now for foreign policy in Africa. In East Africa. That is the country which is rubbing shoulders with Egypt, and doing.
Okay. We seem to have had a problem there with the signal there of Musa, who is coming to us live there from Isiolo. So, Jevon, at this meeting that...
Miriam.
Yes.
Yes.
Before you ask the question, I need to bring Musa on board. Mm-hmm. He seems not to have understood BBI. It's either he has not read. And if he has not read, I don't know whether he read on the part of corruption that Kenya said that corruption is a threat and to the existence of the well-being of the people of Kenya. Have you read that part?
I have read, Professor. I have read.
Listen now. I was listening when you were talking. Again, Kenya has went ahead to say that the corruption is becoming advanced stage of cancer. You read that part?
I've read, Professor.
Then they went to give recommendation. You say you don't agree, which I agree with you. They say that as it is now, when cases are taken to court, they are prosecuted forever. They are giving a recommendation. They want speed prosecution of these cases. When you have been taken to court, you are either told you are a clean man or you go to jail. They have said the people who have stolen from us, the recommendation that we recover that money. We recover that money. We have put stiff measures on the civil servants. That's what the Kenyans said, Musa. And when you don't believe in corruption, I could have said, I wish the BPI report could have said this in corruption. But I think when you look at the recommendations which are being given now, and what we have now, it takes Kenya into a progressive. We cannot be, you are a young man, Musa. If you say that there's nothing we can do with corruption, then we have lost it. Something can be done if we can only demand. And we know who have stolen people. You want to imagine that you don't know who have stolen money from us. I liked on Friday, Douglas was saying that he was with a classmate. And he has already bought some land in Kireshwa, Kitusuru, is working for us, and he has been on employment for 2 years. I was so much impressed with him when he said that he can even prosecute private. This is the kind of spirit. To me, I am persuaded, even if nothing is going to be done, they have given recommendation which can go a long way to fight corruption. That's what I wanted you to correct that kind of notion. Kenyans are saying, we want to see when people have been charged in the court, we want to see something being done, their case being prosecuted and coming to a conclusion within less than 2 years. But as it is now, someone who was prosecuted in 2010, the case is still in the court. And that's why perhaps it has given you lose faith that nothing will be done with corruption. Mm-hmm. We will one day raise this monster of corruption. Mm-hmm.
So
Miriam,
yes.
Miriam, just a moment.
All right, come in.
Just a moment.
Yes.
Just a moment, Miriam. Mm-hmm. I want to correct my friend Musa, Abdi, this issue of corruption, I've heard him say there's nothing we can do about corruption. Kenyans have said in the recommendation, they want those things, as Professor said, speeded up. There is something we can do, Abdi, and in 2 years' time, after your case goes to the anti-corruption court, Abdi, if you have stolen money, you'll be jailed, your money recovered by asset recovery authority, HARA, and you go to prison. Number two, in this country, there's a notion I need to correct you on. The premise of this nation is very political. It was not religious. This is not Iran. Iran is a country. I want to take some bit of history. You're my friend. You're my age mate. Iran is a country that the Ayatollah is at the top. Here in Kenya, the man at the top is a president that is voted by the people. America is when their forefathers, when they were starting their nation over 270 something years ago, was a nation that was founded on the premise of religion and politics. There's so many things you can talk about a state, but here in Kenya, our state is a political state. You need to get that very clear. It's a political state. That does not mean we don't subscribe to God or we don't subscribe to anything that morality and all that. Number two, Musa, on issue of morality, Kenyans have also said that they would want to vote leaders based on merit. That's why the Integrity Act is being amended on the BBI that you have said you have read. We will be opening your file. For example, if you are appointed a minister yourself, Musa, like my friend who was appointed something an year ago, and today they have bought a plot in Muthaiga. Sean knows the story. If you are appointed a minister and your wealth file says that your wealth declaration form says you own a plot in Isiolo and you own 10 in Nairobi, we shall confiscate those ones in Nairobi and prosecute you, and in 2 years' time you'll go to prison. And the same BBI says, for young people to be able to move forward, we need to give young people tax holidays and all that. BBI is a national healing process, Musa. We need to be able to come to terms with this. And in this country, we cannot abrogate the role of constitutional making to people that are not mandated under the constitution to make the role. In this regard, the BBI report is coming up with bills that will be taken to Parliament and a referendum question that can only be voted by the people of Kenya, which the Constitution says all sovereignty and power belongs to the people of Kenya. So, Musa, there is something we can do. We are not helpless. This country is our own, and we cannot let this country go to the dogs. And Miriam, there is a question that Musa has taken us away from. I need to answer that question in a minute before I let go. Deputy President going to State House was not to stop reggae. He has no authority to stop reggae that he was unable to stop for over 2 years ago. If he went to seek clearance for his own business in Dubai with the dubious character from Nigeria, the two people, the fugitive and the former vice president of Nigeria, who's even the president of Nigeria, Obasanjo said, Mr. Atiku Abubakar has a propensity of corruption, a very tinted man. And Frank Timmy was in Nairobi. The newspaper is saying Timmy was in Nairobi and he met the deputy president. Timmy is a fugitive running away from his country. If Timmy was in Nairobi and met the deputy president, and they have met again amidst COVID, what is that they are doing? And if it is not their corrupt and fraudulent activities in Dubai. So they are in business, and then I saw somewhere they have said the DP is in Dubai for business, and his business partner is Mr. Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Timmy Frank. These people are corrupt people, and they are people that we are saying on the BBI report, when this thing passes, that they are going to be prosecuted in 2 years' time, and we shall not waste time on that. So thank you, Miriam. The deputy president went maybe and lied to president on something else, and maybe the president granted permission for him to travel, and when he traveled, he has other things that he has gone to do there, which we have come to realize, and the newspaper are saying very clearly, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, a corrupt man from Nigeria, and his right-hand man, Mr. Timmy Frank, met the deputy president of Kenya. Very dubious character. He was not going to pray for them to convert them to become the right models in the society for moralities. He met them to do the business that Mr. Timmy Frank Bubaka are used to. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, very well. Daniel, before you come in, Daniel, before you come in, Daniel, before you come in, please let me just read this. Mr. Kutunyi, who of course, Mr. Kutunyi, we know him, and this is what he said about DP's trip to Dubai. It is captured on page 10 of the Sunday Nation. Early this year, when it was only the former Prime Minister leading the BBI drive, it got a great momentum. Now, with the President preparing to lead these campaigns, Ruto has no resources to counter that formidable force. Had the DP had resources to fund the no campaigns and his 20 state house bid, he would not have hesitated to do so. So they're saying partly maybe because this is, it's not confirmed, but this is what these legislators are saying. There could be DP is broke right now, and maybe he does not have money to lead the no campaign. So that could be one of the reasons why now he wants consensus and wants an easy way to join the BBI process that he's been condemning since the start of it. And also, this meeting is having with this with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and this Shodi character here. That could be. He's perhaps seeking for some financial help there. I don't know, but that is what they're saying. Daniel, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Miriam, first of all, they say birds of a feather flock together. And when we see William Ruto hanging out with dubious characters who have been even banished from their home countries, like Atiku Abubakar is PA, then it tells you that this is a man whose morality has a question mark, and someone whose character does not even add up, does not meet the bar of being the president of this country, the future president of this country. And on the issue of the allegation that Kutunyi has brought on board, we all know who Joshua Kutunyi is. He has been the advisor of the president since 2013. He has been a very, very close ally to the deputy president. And at one point, he went on record saying that he even financed the first term campaigns for Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, who is a very also close ally of the deputy president. So, Miriam, I believe Kutunyi does not speak within the confines of oblivion. He speaks whatever is there, and I believe they have very substantial evidence to make such a wild allegation about the financial standing of the deputy president. And we saw it even earlier this week on the legacy trend, which is associated with Dr. David Matsanga, saying that outlining the two reasons why the deputy president is not for the contested referendum. And it said clearly that the financial constraint is also in question in the Tanga camp. And of course, now that Atiku Abubakar is also a corrupt politician, he is. Perhaps they can have a working term, they can have an agreement where they can be able to mobilize resources and be able to drive the agenda of William Ruto. And also here, home here back in Kenya, Miriam, we had some wild allegation that some corrupt individuals were making contribution towards the 2022 agenda bid of the deputy president, including the former Nairobi governor, Dr. Evans Kidero. So I think from where I sit, these are people who are combining, people who are working together to make sure that we have a rise in leadership of corrupt individuals across Africa. Okay. And we shall even see more photos of other leaders where he has been having meetings with. We saw him with Museveni the other day. You know what is happening in Uganda today. So to me, I think Joshua Kutunyi is very right in his assertions. And Douglas has really hit the nail on the head. And that is the clear picture as it is, Miriam. All right. I think it's...
Okay. Thank you. I'm just trying to run.
Miriam?
Yes. I'd like to bring Javan in, and then I'll come to you and then Professor. So when contacted for comment, the DP's Director of Communications, Emmanuel Talam, referred the Sunday Nation to Communications Secretary David Wagonyi, who was also unavailable. So the Nation wanted to, because he's the Communications Director, the DP's office to want to know exactly what the DP is doing in Dubai, so Talam could not answer that. So should that raise any form of red flag? I don't know. So KO, South Member of Parliament, Daniel Rono, a staunch ally to the DP, said social media is peddling a lot of rumors. The DP is fine and he has gone to Dubai for business. Some of the DP's critics have alluded that he has shied away from leading no campaigns against BBI because of financial woes. Javan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. And one thing that we must agree is that we have said this even before, and we have anticipated that one reason why William Ruto postponed his political campaign, premature 2022 campaign, was one thing, and we foresaw that maybe it was for financial constraints, and now it's coming to be like that was the one thing, apart from the other things of the BBI and the ICC, one thing that financial constraints played a very big role. Miriam, when we must now start to trusting those communication experts and those speaking on behalf of the deputy president, when they tell us that the deputy president went for a business, Miriam, whether bad or good, any business that will earn you a living is business, whether it's through corruption or money laundering. At the end of the day, you'll have business. That is, in this country, we have this tendency of baptizing and calling something deals. There's no deals. Some of these things are just mere corruption allegations, and you'll see them going there for such kind of deals. And Miriam, one thing, moving forward, in order to be to go for a successful no campaign, you need to be well. You need to have financial muscles, and that may be what the deputy president went to look in Dubai. And you see the kind of people he is associating with. These are the people who share something in common. In their character, therefore maybe it was for money. And Miriam, something else, this BBI needs a serious person to oppose, and maybe that is why the deputy president feel like he is the best person to oppose. And for recent times, and he started even after 2017 election, he started positioning himself as the official opposition in the government, something that he is doing quite well, because Miriam, when he is opposing the government and coming up with narratives like Hustle, a narrative versus dynasties, then you must agree that he is positioning himself for opposition, because at the end of the day, I don't feel like the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya would like to be out of government, because Miriam, when you're out of government, your relevance, you'll not be relevant in the political arena. And he feels like even being in the opposition, you'll be quite relevant, because at the end of the day, you'll have an office through the BBI, or he'll be able even to oppose. And he might also prove to the Kenyans that he might be up to the task. And number two thing that Musa said, and I would like to maybe to say a comment on that. He said, like, why was the president not having this handshake and the BBI before 2017? Miriam, from 2013, and we must agree, we had a deplorable country in 2017, and we had the first handshake between the president and the deputy president in 2010, around 2011, which brought about the healing process in the Rift Valley and the central Kenya. And in 2013 election, we didn't have violence. And in 2017, Miriam, we could not have that kind of a BBI process in between 2013 and 2017, from what I feel, because we had an opposition that was quite vibrant. And Miriam, if we tried to go for that referendum, and maybe we sidelined the people in opposition, it could be even more worse. And that is why, at the right time, Miriam, when everything is cool, when we have William Ruto on board, the former prime minister on board, that is when we are having the conversation, when everybody is on board. Because Miriam, we must agree that the former prime minister commands a huge following, and we cannot ignore that he is also one person who gets votes across the country. Therefore, when he is on board, when the president is on board and his deputy, because Miriam, the president and the deputy, they are in the presidency. Therefore, when they do something, and the president told us that he involved the deputy president, then this was the right time, Miriam. Okay. Because some things like this, they look at when the environment is favorable. And after 2017, after 2018, the handshake, that is when we had a favorable environment to go on with the BBI process, when everybody was on board. Because at the end of the day, we want a country that is all-inclusive. Therefore, to my friend Musa, that is what I feel was made even the president to feel like we need to have this constitutional moment at this juncture.
All right.
Thank you, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. Professor, this is how Olusegun, Musa, I'll come to you. You'll finish for us at this topic as we jump to Uganda and Ethiopia. But I'd like to get Professor's opinion on this matter. So this is what former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo described his former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. What I did not know, which came out glaringly later, was his parental background, which was somewhat shadowy. His propensity to corruption, his tendency to disloyalty, his inability to say and stick to the truth all the time, a propensity for poor judgment, his belief and reliance in whereabouts, that is religious teachings, his lack of transparency, his trust in money to buy his way out on all issues, and his readiness to sacrifice morality, integrity, propriety, truth, and national interest for self and selfish interest. If President Uhuru Kenyatta was to be asked about his relationship and his experience with his deputy president on the political level, what kind of words do you think President Uhuru Kenyatta would use to describe his deputy president?
Miriam, thank you for that, Miriam. To be very honest, I will not be in the president's mind to know what he will say about his deputy. But let me just say, because Miriam, I've got my history. Musa as is, Javan as is, Douglas as, Daniel as. Miriam, the guys who went through YK 92, there are some units which they did and have determined them who they are in life. YK. Those guys are ambitious, dishonest, fraudster, disloyal, dishonest. So if someone went through YK, some people who do not believe that they can hear no evil, see no evil, talk no evil. Miriam, if the deputy president went through that class and was taught those units, if the president uses those units, Miriam, he can describe his deputy president as such. But then you also have this as a rejoinder, Miriam. You know, there's this mystery that the deputy president has got a lot of money, Miriam. Where did he get this money? I can tell you some people in this country, Miriam, that so and so, this is the business he does. He's in the milk industry, he's in transport industry, he's in this industry. I can tell you, Miriam. You know very well what the Moi family, what they do. You know this. From Miriam, the deputy president, having mercantile, Amaco, African Merchant Insurance, which is even going under Miriam. And the people's money is going to disappear. It is under receivership now, Miriam. I don't know whether the same money has been using to go around the country. And the other business I know, the others you can help me, is about rearing chicken. 5,000 of them, we were being told the other day. Miriam, is that what can amount a serious campaign? Is that what can amount a serious campaign? I have heard people say, because of the definition I've given, that even some of these church members, Miriam, they go there, they say they have gotten $1 million or 5 million, but in honesty, they have got 1 million, Miriam. Is that a reason? Even some of the wheelbarrows and 10 Miriam, I heard. I'm using histories, I'm not manufacturing. I heard the member for Stare, Jawa, saying that what has made a way to run away for Tanga is that those youths who have been going to Karen or other places, Miriam, after they have been given those wheelbarrows and Mongotan have been displayed, Miriam, they don't leave that place, and those young youths, Miriam, don't get those things. What am I basically saying, Miriam? That I don't think the deputy president has managed to amount that no campaign, which is almost like an election, Miriam, and then you go for another 2022. That's why sometimes I find him very tactical and his voice on that. If he use this money, it's like another campaign, Miriam. Mm-hmm. This one will be financed by the government. This one he will be financing for himself. After having said that, Miriam, you know, when you are in a foreign trip, you can pump on someone else. In February this year, I bumped at him at the Corridor Hotel, one of the 7-star hotel in Sudan. I met him in the executive lounge. I greeted him and we took a photo. So I don't want to imagine maybe perhaps these people saw him as the president for the Republic of Kenya, and they were so much excited.
No, but Professor, but according to the story on the Sunday Nation, Timmy was here in August.
I'm building a case.
Mm-hmm.
There's an unlikely scenario because Miriam, these are the papers. I am trying to analyze from a high level. Mm-hmm. I have said I've taken a photo of him. I can show you, and you can ask the professor, what were you discussing with this kind of person? But what I want to say, Miriam, he needs money, and perhaps. And these people who, the kind of business they do, and what Obasanjo said, Miriam, and the deputy president of what the kind of business he does, I can't rule out the business, Miriam, the possibility of him going to look for funds. And the Miriam time has come to vindicate me, because I said on Friday that the deputy president has got every reason to go and see his boss. So wherever he goes to go to see the president who is his boss, should not make news. Like now it has come very clear, he had gone to seek clearance to travel because the State House officials, sometimes there is blockers and they frustrate him. So this will demystify what the Tanga people are trying to tell us, that the Rega has been stopped and the consensus has been given and the president has taken charge. Now you see how things come out. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, Musa, go ahead.
Thank you, Miriam. First of all, my brother Douglas, I know you are a good person, but when we go for geopolitics, the Islamic Republic of Iran, that is a nation which is rubbing shoulders with the bipolar nations, and I will find it so unfair for a country like ours, Kenya, to be compared to Iran. But your arguments are really justified. I think I'm the only liberal. I'm trying to tackle this BBI document from the liberal point of view. Mm-hmm. I'm not a sycophant of the deputy president. I support whoever the president comes to power. We've supported Kibaki. He gave us the great.
Musa.
Look, Professor, and
no.
Yes.
You can't be liberal on that document.
All right, liberal Musa, go ahead.
Yeah, Uhuru Kenyatta came, and he gave us under his leadership the first woman to be elected the senator in this country. She comes from my county, Fatuma Dulo. But the problem is, there are 3 massacres which happened in this nation: the Kedong massacre, the Daba massacre of 1967, and the Wagala massacre of 1984. The last two, I happen to be the direct victim of these 2 massacres, whereby I lost the brother to my dad in the one of 1967 and the one of 1984 also. What I'm trying to say is that I may not blame, we cannot do anything about corruption, but Professor, if indeed, the Truth and Justice Reconciliation Commission reports under the late Bedouin Kiplagat were never implemented, we felt personally like now, which miracle will come, that this BBI report will be implemented? Because one of the things which BBI highlights, and I truly agree with it, is the building of national ethos and, inclusivity. That a son in Mandera, that a son of a farmer, a son of a nomad in Marsabit can become, the president of this nation, regardless of, the religion, the creed, the ethnic backing, without appealing to anyone's ethnicity, that the son of a Karamajong or a Turkana from that far end of this nation can become a leader. That is a very good thing. The issue here is, Professor Jared, is that Deputy President William Ruto might be saying the politicians have hijacked this BBI process. I would want to say this. First of all, give the credit where it is due. If there is a humble president we've ever had, is President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's a very humble guy. He's someone whom, he can listen to you. And I happen to occasion this in the eve of, the people he helped. There was a young man in Kisumu who shouted, President Hakuna Kazi, and, The next morning he called him to State House and he told him, yes, mtakupea kazi. His personal attitude for leadership is good. But Professor Jared, what I'm afraid of, President Uhuru Kenyatta might be genuine, but what I'm afraid of is that corrupt governor I have, is that corrupt senator I have, is that corrupt MCA I have. That is what I'm afraid of.
So don't you, according to you, Musa, when you look at what the BBI is proposing right now, don't you think the proposals there will address some of these concerns that you're having, or there's something else you would want to be added to that to ensure that corruption is tackled?
Now, the other day, what I'm really suggesting is, I'm really trying to be, neutral and liberal, is that let's go for uncontested referendum. Uncontested is better.
Okay, how are Kenyans going to support?
Because Kenya is the only country in Horn of Africa which is now at peace. If indeed we can go for contested, then we are playing into the very game William Ruto is needing. Remember, William Ruto brought the hustler narrative, not because he really wanted to bring about that good ideologies among the Kenyans. William Ruto is someone who will manufacture a narrative so that he can benefit 100% from it. So if we go for contested, William Ruto is someone who did it in 2007, 2008. Professor Jared Onyari, you can agree with me. So if we go for contested, this is someone who can just ignite that ethnic violence very easily.
But he does not want a contested. He does not want a contested referendum because because people have been saying Musa, that
I know the Machiavellian principle of William Ruto.
But also
William Ruto, when he says yes, when he says yes, he means no. And when he means no, William Ruto means yes.
Okay.
This is someone whom traces of politics is very, very hard to understand. That's why people say the only person who can understand William Ruto is Raila Odinga. No one else can understand. Uhuru Kenyatta is running mad about him. The only person who can understand this guy is Raila Odinga. And I believe, as my brother Karanja said, even if he's mad, Professor Onyari, let us bring him on board. Even if he's mad, even if he's trying to be diabolical, let us bring him on board.
Okay.
And I believe, to conclude, that BBI is the right way to go. I believe in that. I agree with that.
So you're saying you would rather we go for an uncontested referendum?
I've got only two
Thank you so much.
sentences
Okay.
Two, I want to tell Musa and my fellow panelists, better days are in the future. We walk the future with hope. If we don't have that kind of hope, there is nowhere we'll go. Musa, PBI is not something which was done yesterday. It has been with us for 32 months, 2 years and 9 months. And here, Musa, other patriotic Kenyans who are concerned on how to take their country forward, they took their recommendations, Musa, to the steering committee. The deputy president, the Tangatanga Brigade, they did not. Which consensus are you telling to agree with? You wait for other Kenyans who are very patriotic, who have done their civil duty by giving recommendation, and you tell us to go to have a consensus and contested over what? So one of the things which I have agreed with you, and it is it's like cattle rustlers or cattle thieves. What they do, Miriam, they bring enemies, they take your cattle. When people are screaming, is the first person to come out, and they will tell you they have gone this way and the cows have gone this way. This is exactly what is happening. And in a referendum, Musa, let me tell you, it will lose any meaning. It will not be very democratic. It will be something very strange. And even there was something which Njoya said, Miriam, that this is not a political process. And I agree with Douglas. He should be told in categorical terms that this is a political process, Miriam. President Uhuru Kenyatta is a politician. Raila Odinga is a politician. These are the people who shook hands. They identified 9-point agenda and they gave it to Kenyans. How do you divorce that it is not a political process? And even in this event, Miriam, some of the bills that we want to be passed in Parliament will be done by members of Parliament. Some of the bills, the referendum question, Miriam, will be taken to the counties, Miriam, and 24 counties.
So it is a political process.
And those are the politicians.
Okay.
So, wherever you want to use any word, there is no way we can remove the political
politics
class.
out of
There are
it.
people, and we have to move with them.
Okay, very well. So that brings us to the end of our first part of the conversation. So now let's just turn our attention to other stories also that are still making headlines across the continent today. And we start with Uganda. And Uganda's opposition presidential candidate Bobi Wine was defiant on Friday after being released on bail following violent clashes between security forces and his supporters that left at least 37 people dead. And there has been conflicting figures there. Other media houses are reporting 37, others 28. So 2 days of protest was sparked by Wine's arrest on Wednesday ahead of political rally in run-up to January 14th election, in which he is seen as the main challenger to President Yoweri Museveni, who is seeking to extend his 36-year rule. And of course, towards the end of June, the Electoral Commission of Uganda launched a new roadmap for the 2021 general elections. The most controversial pronouncement was that the process, including campaigns and polling, will be scientific. So before I get your opinions on this, Dr. Matanga earlier on wrote something online in regards to this story. So I'll just read it, a few, perhaps 2 lines, and then we can come in and give our opinion on what is happening there in Uganda. So this is what Dr. Matanga posted. Beating grandchildren is an abomination. From a Pan-Africanist perspective, the state of things in Africa is not very good. The deplorable war in Ethiopia, the eruption of chaos in my motherland, Uganda, the unresolved electoral confusion in Tanzania, and of course the usual lawless Somalia. In all the above cases, post-colonial democracy era is under serious attack. The will of the people has been suppressed and their voices suffocated. In some cases, there's nothing about democracy to talk. Holding rallies and having so many people come to his rally, and others are not wearing masks, but we've not seen the same force being meted on him. I'll start with Javen. What's really going on there in Uganda?
Thank you, Miriam. And you know, Uganda is a country that is near to us. It's a country that we know, and is our friend, is our neighbor. And Miriam, you know, when your neighbor is not well, you are not also well. And Miriam, one thing that is happening in Uganda, and Miriam, I said sometimes back that the problem with the African continent is the bad leadership that we have. And I understand, let me say this, even from what Musa was saying. The problem that Musa has with the BBI is the people who implement the document. Because, Miriam, we have a 2010 constitution that is yet to be fully implemented. Therefore, at the end of the day, we must be able to make wise decisions in the ballot so that we guarantee ourselves and the other Kenyans that we have leaders who will implement the good document that we have of the BBI. That is why I feel like even the problem with Uganda is the kind of leadership that we have. Because Museveni is somebody who has been in power for quite a period of time, more than 3 decades. Miriam, is not a short period of time. And the best he has done is to recruit all the public and the army to support him. That is why he uses intimidation, because everybody who is in government speaks his language. I saw even the minister of security in Uganda saying that the number of people in the streets will be shot if they go under without observing the COVID regulation. And you wonder, Miriam, what kind of a statement is that? You cannot tell people not to go for those campaigns when the same government is breaking and not observing the kind of protocols that the government is putting in place. Therefore, it's quite hypocritical that a minister of security can say that the demonstrators, the people who go for the Bobi Wine campaign, will be shot to death. That is not something good, and is something that is ailing, and we don't want to go there. Therefore, the problem here is the poor leadership. And Miriam, when you want to change these kind of regimes that has been there for years, they have deep roots. They have what we call tap roots. And Miriam, you know, when you want to get to the tap root, you must be using the best jembes and fork jembes so that when you hit it, you'll hit it, and the tree will fall. And that is exactly what the Bobi Wine and the team are doing, so that they take this regime out of power. And Miriam, this is what was happening in Kenya in the 90s, when we had even the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution. It was not easy. even the Dr. Referendum Timothy Joya was beaten up. People were beaten. Some were even broke down, and even some lost their lives. Therefore, it's not an easy cause. And that's exactly what is happening in Uganda. They want to try to change things and to make their country better. And Miriam, on that, I feel to agree. We might not agree with the agendas and the views of Bobby Wine, but in one thing that he wants to change the bad regime of the dictatorship, then we must agree with him. He might also become one dictator in future because we don't know his true character. But at the moment, he is doing something significant. Okay. And Miriam, it's like a new dawn have come around our East African countries. We also saw even the people of Uganda, Tanzania, trying to do these kind of things. Therefore, a dawn has come to the people of Uganda. They want to change the regime. They want to have something new. But Miriam, at the end of the day, I think even when Bobby Wine is doing this kind of thing, he should not expose the people in Uganda to the COVID-19. He should also try to be quite a person who shows the leadership by observing and ensuring that he does this thing as is supposed to be done in that country, because every country has its own rules and regulation. Therefore, he should not be the one and not observing this rule. He should be reading as an example. Okay. Miriam, at this point when we have COVID-19, it's quite unfair to hold such demonstration on my side, because we saw the escalating numbers that we have in this country due to COVID-19 because of recklessness and carelessness of our politicians. And I feel like the Bobby Wine and the Uganda...
President Museveni is doing the same, and he's not being reprimanded.
That is why I'm saying that we need to have this distinguishing factor that the government, that is why I say the government should be the one observing the regulation and leading as an example. Also, the Bobby Wine on his side, because Miriam, he might, you don't follow a bad person because he is doing the same and you repeat doing the same. He might also increase the numbers at the end of the day. And Miriam, it's quite unfair that even we might not be getting the right numbers of the COVID cases in Uganda. What I feel like the numbers are increasing. And this is something that will even affect the president who will come in office in 2021, because he'll have to deal with the pandemic and the aftermath and the effects of the negative setbacks that will be there because of COVID-19. Therefore, the people of Uganda, at the end of the day, they'll have to make their decision. But Miriam, the problem is, this man who has been in office for 33 years, he controls almost everything. What will happen?
Yes.
Yeah, 35 years. What will happen when he will be in office? Will Bobby Wine continue doing the demonstrations? What will happen? And I feel like the people of Uganda, they might allow him to go the natural way. Until he hits his age and he retires, and God do whatever he wants with him. I mean, for the sake of their country.
All right, and that is what former president, now the late Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, had hoped will happen, that he will just leave power the natural way, maybe till death. And Mugabe, Omar al-Bashir of Sudan, Bouteflika of Algeria, Mali president there that were removed by a coup, always used the military to back them up and to give them the protection there. So this is what Bobby Wine said on Friday after he's released. I was violently arrested, tortured while in detention, threatened with death, but this did not break my resolve. I promised the people of Uganda that whatever the situation, I will not abandon them on a journey we started together. We must finish it together, and that's when we have removed a dictator from power, he said, referring to Museveni. Now, police in Uganda have a right to shoot protesters dead if they reach a certain level of violence. That is according to Security Minister Eli Tumwine, and clashes with police packed the arrest of the presidential candidate and former pop star Bobby Wine that have left at least 28 people dead. So the security minister has come out and said, you know what, the police will shoot you. The protesters, you'll be shot dead. Douglas.
Miriam, thank you. When President Museveni came from the bush and he did the Kampala raid of 1986, Museveni said the greatest impediment to progress and democracy in Africa is for leaders who want to stick to power. He said many leaders in Africa don't want progress of their country, and so he is coming as a transitional military general for Uganda to move to the next level. 1990, President Museveni came back to the people of Uganda and said I just need 5 years for me to do something so that people will not be clinging to power. In 1995, he came back and told them, now, you see, my people, you need to give me 5 more years for me to be able to do something that will be able to consolidate progress in Uganda. In 2000, he was quoted saying, I will not cling to power. It was on Friday 31st, I think, October 2000. He said, I will not cling to power. Then he went on and told them, I need more 5 years for me to do something, then I will leave. In 2005, the old man came and said, I need 4 more 5 years to be able to consolidate my progress. Later on, in 2010, the old man came again and told them, now, this is the last time I'm coming to you. I need more time for me to be able to do lasting legacy in Uganda. Mm-hmm. The old man came back in 2015 and told them, after these 5 years that you are granting me, after 75, somebody becomes senile and they have dementia, so they cannot be able to function well. He said, actually, there is something scientific about when you get to the age of 75. He said, he was asked, Mr. President, so you are saying you're not run after 25? Yeah, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to run again. So 5 more years and I'm okay. In 2020, we are here again. President Museveni is saying, I want to secure your future, because he has already secured his future for the last 35 years. So he wants to secure the future of Ugandans. Ugandans are tired, Miriam, and what he is doing today to Robert Kyagulanyi, Bobi Wine, is not anything new. He has been meeting on Dr. Kizza Besigye and others. General Museveni has perfected the art of using intimidation and the army to suppress the will of Ugandans, to suppress the will of the people, and to be able to consolidate power amongst his own clique of people that support him and his cronies. What the people of Uganda are telling General Museveni today is, old man, don't even hold scientific elections. Don't harass our people. Don't harass opposition leaders. Leave Uganda for us. We need to be able to move forward. Like we said the other day, General Museveni coming to Uganda today and telling them he wants to secure their future when he is beating his grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Dr. Masanga said in the morning, beating grandchildren is an abomination. At my age, my mother cannot even try and slap me. But General Museveni in Uganda is beating his grandchildren, Bobi Wine and the rest. We cannot be able to live in such a situation. And I think the way he said in 2015 that after 75, something happens to your brain and you cannot be able to function well, he is not arrived to the reality. He is not oblivious of the fact that the people of Uganda are tired of him now. Because what he is doing is contrary to what is expected. He is mahiming, he is beating protesters and killing people with live bullets. He has sent gangs on the people of Uganda for him to cling on to power. Mm-hmm. He has terrorized Kyagulanyi, who is running against him, a very young grandchild of Museveni, and many others. What General Museveni needs to do in Uganda is that he needs to hang his boot and go home. Mm-hmm. He should not bring Uganda to a standstill. People need to move on. The likes of Bobi Wine may not win presidential elections, even if Museveni is not there, but they are saying and sending a strong message, or they may be president, I don't know. They are sending a strong statement to Museveni is that the people of Uganda are all equal before the rule of law. Mm-hmm. He needs to observe the rule of law and protect the democratic right of Ugandans to exist, do meetings and all that. All right. Remember, it is the same man that is doing meetings all over Uganda and broadcasting on television and everywhere, and is having full meetings, but he has restricted everyone else into their homes and TVs and Facebook, telling them, you guys, there is COVID, you need to be around 200 or 100 people and don't own rallies. But he is doing the opposite, and nobody is reprimanding him. There is no law that is applicable to Bobi Wine and his other opposition leaders, General Muntu Mugisha and others, and it is not applicable to General Museveni. He should stop killing Ugandans and stop killing democracy in Uganda. He has suppressed the voice of the press, he has suppressed the voice of Ugandans and subverted their will for so long. He needs to go. He doesn't need 5 more years to stick to power.
Okay.
General Museveni needs to hang his boot and go, because what is happening in Uganda is very deplorable. It's an abomination, like Dr. Masanga was saying. He needs to hang his boot and go.
All right, very well. Kirimi, thank you so much. Daniel, we saw the former presidential candidate there, Dr. Kizza Besigye, who, by the way, was President Museveni's personal doctor there, and I'm told Dr. Matsanga knows they have also other personal issues, apparently. So now he's tried running for presidency 4 times. I was watching an interview he was doing on Al Jazeera, and of course he was, I think for the first time, he's just glad it's not him being molested, but also he, expressed his disgust at what is happening to presidential hopeful Bobi Wine. And this time, Dr. Kizza Besigye is not running for presidency. So do you think, judging from what has been happening and the molestation we've been seeing meted against Kizza Besigye, now what we're seeing happening to Bobi Wine, do you think Bobi Wine is the right man for the mission? Daniel?
Daniel seems not to be there.
Okay, then I shall come to you, Professor.
Yeah, Miriam, let me just have this to say. I want to say that I totally agree with Dr. Masanga that we are supposed to show way to our grandchildren. When you are a small child, the mom picks her or him, he say, I will report the dad. And indeed, when the dad will come, the kid will tell the dad, and the dad will say, okay, I've heard, I'll take action. And the child feels secure. When our parents and my dad, I grew in the village, and I saw my grandpa, Miriam, you are safe in the hands of the grandpa. And the grandpa will come and tell your dad, this is what you are trying to do to the children is not good. So Miriam, there are checks and balances. So if President Museveni, Miriam, is killing the grandchildren, and the grandchildren, Miriam, stands for the future. The grandchildren want to secure their country, Miriam. There were some children who were born in 1986 when Museveni was coming to power. These children are married, Miriam, and they have got children who are teenagers. President Museveni cannot do this to the grandchildren. And Miriam, from what I'm trying to say, Miriam, and let me just make this important point. You cannot shed innocent blood and you survive. You will pay for it. Anybody who has ever tried in history to mistreat innocent people, Miriam, you don't go. So President Museveni, his cup is full. The water will pour down, Miriam. We can't keep on putting more tea to the cup which is full. So let me just have this to say, and this is a wake-up call to African leaders. We have named them, Miriam. From what's happening in the world, Miriam, even the young generation, Chava and Douglas, Musa, they have to take off. We have to mentor them, Miriam. We are at the sunset of our years, Miriam. We don't have a future, Miriam. We have the experience to tell these people we have undergone. Where they are going, we can't go. So on this, I agree with Dr. Masanga that we cannot afford Miriam to kill or mistreat our grandchildren. Otherwise, they will feel the solution that this world is unfair for them. We have lived our life. We have done our bit. It is high time, Miriam, we are the pattern. Yes, he molested Dr. Besigye, Miriam, until he has also said, no, I cannot be in the struggle for all this much. He has handed the baton to the likes of Bobi Wine. This is what a serious leader does. And people may think Dr. Besigye has done something. He's a visionary leader. He has said his time is up. He's giving, when we talk about the digital period, the digital era, Miriam, it belongs to the young people. I saw President Museveni, Miriam, in one of the something going on the social media. He's saying, Miriam, he is not a servant of the people. Miriam, then how do you become a leader of the people if you are not going to serve them? He called himself a freedom fighter. You become a freedom fighter even when you are a president.
And
when you are in charge, fighting who, Miriam? He calls himself as a freedom fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a servant. And Miriam, let me tell you, when bride, you are at the top and it has entered your head, Miriam.
Mm-hmm.
When bride comes, you fall. I can see Museveni. Yes, you are winning 2022 people in the election because you have already rigged yourself in. You are killing the grandchildren, Miriam. But the blood of the young people will continue crying from the ground, Miriam. A revolution and the change is coming in Uganda and it's coming across Africa.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much, Professor Musa. From what you've been seeing happening there in Uganda, first of all, we all agree President Museveni has really outstretched his welcome there. But from what you've been seeing happening there, do you think it is, judging from what else has been happening in the continent and the recent coups the continent has experienced there, which have been led by the people, and then later on the military came in and intervened and removed these people that they have been protecting there in power, Zimbabwe, Algeria, Sudan, Mali there. Do you think perhaps it could be the beginning of the end of President Yoweri Museveni there in Uganda if he's not very careful? Musa?
Yes.
Musa's not there, maybe Bundi?
All right. Oh, Douglas, you're back. No, Douglas has given his comment on the same. So perhaps Karanja on the Ugandan issue, yes.
Yeah, and Miriam, as you have said, is a wake-up call to the rest of African countries. And even these old regimes of dictators, they are coming to an end. And Miriam, Museveni might win in 2021, but that will not guarantee him that he will continue and misusing the people of Uganda. At the right time, Miriam, the people of Uganda will have a day to celebrate that they have fought and they won the battle to take the Museveni home. And Miriam, it's quite unfortunate, Miriam, that you are killing innocent people, young people, your grandchildren, to secure a seat that you have been with for 35 years, Miriam. Mm-hmm. And that 35 years old man is already married. Miriam, meaning someone who was born when Museveni was taking power. He has children who are in almost heading to secondary school. Therefore, this is quite unfair. And I feel like Miriam, as an African continent, is not good. And this is a problem we have with our leaders. They feel like they have an entitlement to remain in power. They have an entitlement to rule simply because you went to the forest and overturned the government that was there. That does not guarantee you to continue mistreating the people that you are supposed to bring development to. And Miriam, that is why I feel like going in future, Africa need to have its own breed of a democracy or kind of an election. Miriam, whether it means to having the old Buganda kingdom to be rephrased and to be done 1 or 2, 3 things to ensure that even if you are luring for life, you go through the right channels, Miriam. That will be quite effective. That will ensure that we don't have this kind of violence, because the people of such particular country will be knowing that at the end of the day, we have a king, we have a monarchy kind of a government where one person or a family, we rule forever, and that will not bring all this chaos. I feel like even as Africans, we need to redefine how we do our things. And the one thing that Miriam, I still emphasize is having good leaders, especially in this country where we can do a democratic election. Let's have leaders who will not erode the morals of integrity and honesty. Let's have people go to power to deliver services, not to go there to enrich themselves.
Right.
That is the kind of thing that we need to have even in Uganda. But at the end of the day, what I would encourage the people of Uganda, there is light at the end of the tunnel. One day, the old regime of Museveni will be gone, and we have a president who will listen to the cry of the people of Uganda, who will work to make Uganda better, and will make sure that we have all systems in place to ensure that Uganda is better and is democratic state, and it's have free and fair election. That is the kind of hope that they need to have. Because at the end of the day, Miriam, even if Museveni wins, what will Bobi Wine do? He will continue being intimidated. But this is a wake-up call. In future, you'll see even him maybe not sponsoring or going for that election. Maybe after his 5 years term in 2026, he might not feel to go for such kind of an election. Maybe he will go home and retire peacefully because of what you have seen this time round.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Our time is up.
I've got this to say.
Yes.
On the question you were asking, Daniel, about the military people.
Yes.
And this is what I say to all the defense forces in the continent of Africa. One of the duty of the military people, Miriam, is to secure their borders and protect the people. Time is coming when the military, Miriam, will become loyal to the people and protect the people. We have seen it happening in Mali. We saw happening it in Zimbabwe. And I'm seeing it soon happening here in Uganda. And Miriam, I want to end it by quoting Mandela. Mandela said this, Miriam, that when you are at the top, be careful of the monster called pride. Pride will make you look down on the people who haven't attained your level of success, the rights of Museveni, Miriam. When you are at the bottom, be careful of the monster called bitterness. That's why you can see now the young people are a bitter, Miriam. Bitterness will make you jealous and think that other people are the reason you haven't made it in life. And which is very true, Miriam. When people see that you are overstayed, young people will become bitter, Miriam. Mandela went on to say, when you are on the way to the top, be careful of the monster called greed. Greed will make you grab and be corrupt and take all the things which belong to the people. But greed will make you impatient and make you steal or seek shortcuts. When you are on the way down, be careful of the monster called despair. Despair will make you think it is over here, there is still hope. I would urge the people of Uganda and the young people in the continent of Africa, Miriam, they should not despair. This is their time. The people who fought for the independence of the continent of Africa, Miriam, the Pan-African leaders were young people. So the young people are actually doing their civil duty of being young people, Miriam, to secure the future of their country and the future of themselves, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. So as I was saying there, thank you so much, Professor. Our time is up, but there is a story here we didn't cover last Sunday, and today also we have it here about the ongoing conflict there in Ethiopia. So I'd just like to get very short comment from all of us. And Ethiopian national forces are meeting heavy resistance and face a protracted war of attrition in the northern region of Tigray. A confidential United Nations assessment reveals, though officials in Addis Ababa, the capital, have repeatedly claimed that key towns have been secured, paramilitaries and militia deployed by the army are still struggling to clear and secure territory. Heavily armed regular troops have continued to advance into Tigray as they rush to reach the capital, Mekelle. The assessment says now more than 36,000 Ethiopians have already fled into neighboring Sudan, which is still very unstable. 36,000 refugees now, and large numbers are on the move within Tigray to avoid the fighting. Abiy Ahmed, the Ethiopian Prime Minister, said earlier last week that the Ethiopian Defense Forces are poised to make a final push to secure Mekelle and oust the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the ruling party in the region. And of course, last Thursday, government spokesperson Redwan Hussein told reporters that national forces were moving forward and closing in on the capital there. And we've seen the African Union has come out to offer to mediate in that conflict there in Ethiopia, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has refused to do so, and also he has refused to have talks with the leaders there of Tigray. So what solutions can be offered there to avert further damage and further refugees flowing into Sudan? And I'm sure others are in Kenya as we speak. I'm not sure, but I'm sure the rest of the countries will be affected by instability there in Ethiopia. So what could be the possible solutions there? And why do you think Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed have refused mediations there from African Union? I'll start with you, Javan, very shortly as we conclude.
Miriam.
Oh, Douglas, you're back. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The situation in Ethiopia is very regrettable, and we need to also put into right why the people are suffering in Ethiopia, and the government is undermined, and they keep cramping down on the rights of of the people. And the Prime Minister, as you remember, didn't take himself to the top. One of the roles of leadership says, if you are going to get to power through a cabal or through a group of people, it is their interest whose you're going to remain stable and remain firm and all that. Abiy is a peace-loving man whose first time, I think, first year or second year, he was given the Nobel Peace Prize for peacekeeping and all that. But today, he has crawled back on the gains that he made on peace. Internally, the people of Ethiopia are suffering. They are becoming internally displaced people and also running to neighboring countries from their own country. That situation is regrettable. Ethiopia houses the EU. The EU should have called the government of Ethiopia before this thing ran out of hand very long time ago. The EU is relaxing like they have always been across Africa. They are protecting the government of Ethiopia for nothing. They need to protect the rights of those people. And also the government of Ethiopia should have opened a long time ago negotiations with those people to avert crisis in Ethiopia. If Ethiopia suffers today, Kenya suffers today. If Ethiopia suffers today, if their people are displaced, Somalia and other neighboring regional countries suffer. So it is the high time their leaders, the ruling party that has the Prime Minister, Abiy, hand a consensus, hand an handshake, or maybe a BBI in Ethiopia with those people. They need to be able to talk and have a conversation that saves the people of Ethiopia. One of the solutions that I think they can be able to employ is a conversation that is devoid of brain games and all that. They need to come and talk. And number two, the EU should be able to rein on the government of Ethiopia to stop the underlying position they have taken. It is very wrong to see the Prime Minister of Ethiopia taking an underlying position, whereas the Deputy Prime Minister of Ethiopia has been doing shuttle diplomacy in the region, especially calling on Nairobi. He called on President Uhuru Kenyatta, called on President Museveni, who is also beating his grandchildren in Uganda. He should stop that also.
Okay.
The EU should be able to rein on the government of Ethiopia. And thirdly, we need to be able to also tell the leaders that are leading the internal war and displacement and the ones that are also worrying with the government of Ethiopia to also stop their underlying positions and come out and have a conversation. Let their issues be listened to, let the issues of the government of Ethiopia listened to, and let these people have some form of handshake. Let them talk, let them have a conversation. A compromise is never going to hurt Ethiopia. A compromise is never going to hurt the region. A compromise on the other hand is going to bring a more united region, a more united Ethiopia. You know, Miriam, if we are having a region where people are dying daily, in Uganda they're hiding, and the IG of the Inspector General of Police went on record and said the people have died there. In Ethiopia, it's a dictatorship. They cannot tell us how many people have died. We are not celebrating people dying. We are not celebrating people being evicted from Ethiopia. It is something that they need to be able to come together. Ethiopia is old enough to solve its own internal problems, but the EU are the biggest pretenders in this matrix.
Right.
They need to call out Abiy and his government, and they need to rein on him to be able to bring peace in Ethiopia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Douglas. Now, Javen, Douglas has just reminded us the fact that AU headquarters is in Addis Ababa, and the fact that AU wanted to mediate, but Prime Minister refused. Of Ethiopia refused for AU to come and mediate, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has refused to reach out to the leaders of Tigray there, and he received a Nobel Peace Prize for the peace deal that he had between Ethiopia and Eritrea. And a couple of things come into play. We know right now Ethiopia also is in the middle of a scandal, the Nile River, after building the Grand Renaissance Dam there that has pitted it against Egypt and, of course, Sudan there. So what is really happening? The fact that Abiy Ahmed has refused for AU to mediate while we have our AU headquarters in Ethiopia itself. Should this worry the rest of us?
Yeah, Miriam, and I feel like we as Africans, we have leaders who sometimes they do good, they are good in office, they do all manner of good things, but when they reach a point when I don't know what takes in them, and they forget the good deeds that they stood for, they forget and they sideline the integrity and honesty they had in first place. As you see in the case of Abiy Ahmed, this is a person who brought a peaceful coexistence between Eritrea and Ethiopia. But as it stands now, he is the same person who is refusing to have talks with the AU, which intends to bring harmony in this country. Miriam, this kind of regional and sometimes community-based politics, they are quite harmful when they go on the bad side, because these kind of sidelines that we are seeing, people saying we not do this, the people who are sponsoring the internal conflict, saying we not agree to settle these kind of disputes, is because they feel like their region will suffer, their people will suffer. And at the end of the day, we need to have leaders who rise to be nationalists. People will be there to represent everybody. You know, Miriam, this thing of representing a certain community and sidelining other community, that is where the breeding ground of war comes in. And we need to have leaders who start championing and talking the language of national inclusivity and regional cooperation, especially in the East African community. But what we have local leaders who take everything to their villages, to incite their people. That is the kind of thing that is even eating the people and most of the countries in our Africa. And that is the same issue that we are trying to settle here in Kenya. Because Miriam, when we go for this community and the tribal kind of incitements, that is where we have these things. Because tribe, color, language, class, these are things that touches on the hearts of every person. And when you incite them on that kind of issue, that is when we have this kind of erratic kind of disputes. And I feel like everybody in Ethiopia, they should understand that that is their country, and the prime minister, the deputy prime minister, and all other leaders, they should sit. Because Miriam, when people sit and have a conversation, you negotiate, you do something, you settle the conflict when you're on table and with honesty and without hiding anything, then that is when they'll have a solution. But when everybody runs away with his own views, the other one goes on the opposite direction with a different divergent views, then you'll find at the end of the day, they will not have a solution. What I would like to see is them coming down and sit and have a talk. Let them negotiate, let them settle issues down. We had an issue in 2007, and we got the Grand Coalition government when people came in board, and we had mediators, we had people, and they settled it down. I think that the leaders in Ethiopia should agree to have a talk, a conversation, to take their country forward. Because when Ethiopia suffers, the whole of Africa, especially as neighboring countries in Kenya, will also suffer a lot. Because we see even we have an issue with our the Dadaab camp and these other AU camp where where we have the people who are displaced. Therefore, it will be quite unfair to increase those numbers when we need to settle these people and take them back to their countries. I feel, and I need Africa where we'll have to stand on its own and settle its own dispute without going for race, without going for color, class, or anything, but going for the people of that particular country. Thank you, Miriam.
Very well, thank you so much there. I don't know if we have Abdi Musa back. Maybe not. All right, and is Daniel back?
No.
All right, very well. So, Professor, end it for us.
Miriam, I want to be very, very, very careful with what I want to say about Ethiopia, because I'm very proud and thankful to God, because my opinion has worked in 2 countries. And now in Ethiopia, we are doing a paper, we are doing a letter to the Prime Minister, and we hope to the parties it's going to work. I did it to Burundi. We persuaded Nkurunziza, the late Nkurunziza, to have made the remark that Burundi has got men and women who can take Burundi forward. He lives with that expectation. We had a new president, and then he passed on. How I wish that he could have lived to see this. When Dr. Riek Machar was running away from the negotiating table, Miriam, we persuaded him to come to the negotiating table, because things are achieved on the negotiating table. Don't give war the first chance, because, Miriam, at the end you will come to the negotiation table. how I pray that I tell people to start with the table before you agree, Miriam. You will save life. You will not have people going out of their country as refugees, Miriam. So, Miriam, I want to appeal to the Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia that he will never become a racial person to give the mediation a chance. If he can have peace with Eritrea, then he can have peace with the people. He can have an engagement. He can have a conversation with the people of Ethiopia, so that they can be able to understand the underlying core issues to their conflict. I want to say, Miriam, this is more than what you are seeing. This is a proxy war. And if the Americans promises you something, Miriam, don't take it right. The dam they constructed, Miriam, is going to cost them, is going to eat them. When we want to use the resources which God has created for all of us, the waters of the Nile, Miriam, is supposed to benefit the people of Ethiopia, the people of Sudan, the people of Kenya, the people of Uganda, and the people of Egypt, Miriam. There is no country which will just decide that this is how we are going to use this water because this is God-given natural resource. They decided to construct that dam, and you add the statement which America made. It is just because there is an election, Miriam, and they have only entered on their issues which they have been having internally. So he must go. He has got no choice. He rather swallows his pride soon enough. Miriam is a winner of the Nobel Prize. And we have on the record that Nobel Prize, Miriam, is supposed to return it. It was given partisan. Miriam, the other person from Eritrea, the one whom we shook hands, could have gotten that Nobel Prize. That's what happened in South Africa, Miriam, when Nelson Mandela was getting the Nobel, Nelson Mandela was getting the Nobel Prize. Even de Klerk was given that Nobel Prize, so that the parties to the conflict, Miriam, all of them benefit. Miriam, the fact that he has got a Nobel Peace Prize, Miriam, he doesn't have a chance. He cannot run away from negotiation table, Miriam. He cannot. Things are solved around the negotiation table. If he doesn't listen to what I'm telling him, and the international community is a proxy war, Miriam, history will come to say what I'm trying to say. So the Prime Minister, he has got no choice, mark my words, to go to the negotiation table and invite those people whom we think they are underdogs. They have caused a conflict. More than 36,000 people, Miriam, have run out of Ethiopia to be refugees in Sudan. And see how unstable Sudan is. So, Miriam, after having that one, Miriam, I'm urging the African leaders. It does not make you a lesser leader if you involve people. If you inform people what you want to do. If you move toward pursuing consensus, the one which is being spoken in this country, but not which is not very genuine, Miriam. So, Miriam, we cannot allow the region to deteriorate because a stable Ethiopia is good for Kenya, is good for Sudan, is good for Uganda, is good for Somalia, and is good for everybody. So, as much as he's trying to say he cannot talk, we cannot sit down and allow him to cause problem in the region. And the things always are gotten around the table, Miriam. He has to come and state is the case. And that's why I am recommending that they must go and find what are the underlying core issues of this conflict. Once they are able to agree these are the core issues, Miriam, they can be able to say this one can be done, this one cannot be done. But you cannot rule out people to talk. I hope the Prime Minister and the people and the African reader from the readers in the continent of Africa listening. Let us keep talking to each other, not at each other. Let us keep talking to one another. This continent is for us all. It does not belong to the readers, and this is the kind of the mentality the African leaders are having, Miriam. They think once you become a prime minister or a president of a country, you think you can prepare your son the way Museveni is trying to do in Uganda. You can't. This continent belongs to the people of the continent of Africa, and our voice must be listened. Every voice in the continent of Africa must be listened to. Let us not leave anyone behind when it comes to discussing and agreeing what kind of continent we want to make forward. We need a progressive Ethiopia. We need peace in Ethiopia. There is no way out. It will be pushed out. The forces which are, Miriam, I have given you this analogy of the snake. The snake downstream and the farmer. When the farmer wanted to use water to do irrigation and starve the animals downstream, they followed and found what is happening. They found out it is the farmer who has just stopped the water. They attacked this man and he died. And you think the Egyptian will take this one lying low, and you are having a problem at home? Oh, the man is done. So I urge him to run to the negotiation table and discuss with his brothers and sisters for the way for peace in Ethiopia as we go forward to solve the Nile crisis and the regional issues.
Right. Very well said, Professor. Thank you so much. And Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been the Prime Minister of Ethiopia since March 2018, after his predecessor also resigned from office following mounted protest there, and his name was Haile Mariam Desalegn. I know we remember all of that. And now he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. And there has been calls there, as Professor said, for him to return, because you cannot purport to have made peace with Eritrea, which the border, Professor, that they opened. Interestingly, Eritrea went ahead and closed the other side of the border. So really, there's no peace that is lasting there, even after he received this Nobel Peace Prize.
You cannot give one man the prize and leave the other.
So Isaias Afwerki, the president of Eritrea, went ahead and closed.
Because they work together.
All right, very well. This is a story we shall be following. This and the rest of the stories that perhaps we did not look at today. Tomorrow, please join us. Egochuku had a rock. Very nice to see you too, and thank you so much for watching. As Kelechi and the rest of you, thank you so much for your time. This has been Africa Showdown. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari. Thank you, Musa Abdi, who was coming to us all the way from Isiolo. He left the conversation a bit early, and Douglas Kirimi from Meru, Daniel Wesonga from Nairobi, and of course, Javan Karanja from Nanyuki. My name is Miriam Ogoto. Thank you for watching, and a very good afternoon to you.
Very well.
Thank you.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.